Good morning. Welcome back to the All-American Savage Show. I am your host, John Burke. Appreciate you being with us here today. I've got another special guest in the studio. You remember him from last time, my buddy Pete, who's a police officer. The podcast we did roughly, I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
About that, yeah.
It was about that long, about the Uvalde shooting. And I made a promise. I made a promise out there to everybody on my social media is that if I got this wrong, if I got this wrong, I would apologize. And there's a reason I said that. And we're going to get into this. But first, fuck it, let's just get into it. I'm very pissed off about this. I'm still very, you know, I've been talking back and forth. Pete hit me up today. He's like, you want me to come back on the show? It's like, yeah, let's just do this. Because people are hitting me up on Twitter. It's like, when are you going to apologize? When are you going to apologize? Like, because they put more value in being right. And they still miss the overall point that we were trying to make as far as saying due process. Let the facts come out and then reserve judgment. And then once that's occurred, then you can feel free to crucify whoever it is that you want to crucify once you've got the facts.
Well, and that was one of the main things that we talked about was, okay, someone's head needs to be on a spike.
Yeah.
But let's make sure the right head is on the spike. Probably multiple heads that need to be on spikes. And now that this video has come out, far more questions now. It's like,
100%.
Okay, now what's going on here?
Well, first, I want to take it back to what we had originally talked about. Because we said at the beginning of that podcast, we reserve the right to change our mind if new evidence is released. We read the AP report. We literally broke it down minute by minute, based upon what was being reported by the MSM as fed to them from the police departments. That's what we went off of, going literally by that. And then come to find out, the door wasn't even locked. Didn't know that.
Nope.
And then, nobody knew that.
Nobody knew that
until the actual evidence or the actual investigation showed that.
And then the question is, when did the people on the ground know that?
Exactly.
And it's one of those things to where, again, we didn't really get into the nuts and bolts of it. When you're looking at like hostage rescue, like, okay, we talked about, hey, it transitioned from active shooter to barricaded person / hostage situation. Okay. And then a lot of people finally learned the magic breacher term that we use, try before you pry. Okay, cool. The tools got there, yada, yada, yada. They go to do the breach, failed breach. They start using the keys. But it's like, the door was unlocked the whole time. Well, why didn't they try the door? Okay. I've never been to hostage rescue school, but I've talked to dudes that have, and we've done like some crosstalk and they said, the main thing is you've got to know 100% that you can make that breach, because typically in a hostage situation with a barricaded person, as soon as you start to initiate that breach, they start executing people.
Exactly.
So again, people are like, well, they should have tried the door. So you're going to walk up, jiggle a door handle, and then the dude just starts capping kids.
Well, see,
and it's like, you get to that, and we get to the whole like, what if, and it's like we can like piecemeal this back.
Because even in the military training, I know military is completely different than law enforcement. 100%. But for me, it was still the idea of like, you don't just like jiggle the handles, like you just barely. And I get that. Yeah. But the point was though that we still didn't know that.
No,
nobody knew that. And then of course everybody on social media comes out, is like, oh, you see, I told you. It's like, you didn't know that. None of you knew this until it actually came out because of what? The investigation. The same thing we were calling for to say, wait. And this wasn't saying, hey, we think they're innocent. We're just saying, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. Let's break this down. Like, this is not making sense. Because by and large, for me, and I think everybody else out there is like, I just don't want to see innocent men or women being crucified when they were actually doing the right thing. That's the biggest thing. And of course, as a result, you get accused of, oh, you're a bootlicker. It's like, no, that's due process. No. And if it was your ass in that sling, and you were innocent, you'd be asking for the same thing. And the reason I want to say that and bring that up is because, what was his name? Officer Ruiz?
Yeah, Ruiz.
Okay, here's another thing. This is to all my little haters out there. And I'm just going to caveat with this. I don't fucking care if you unfollow me. I don't fucking care if you don't like me. I've got enough friends. Pete's one of like 2 of them that I have. I don't care. I'm not here to suck your dick. You don't want to purchase Shell Shock. I don't fucking care. I'm holding true to my beliefs, and the beliefs are, well, here's the apology that you've been waiting for. You're not fucking getting it. I went with due process. The matter was, we got it wrong, but that's fine. We got it wrong because the facts came out and proved us wrong. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That's perfectly acceptable to me. Yeah. By saying, we gave due process a chance, and this is the result. If the officers are guilty, then you hold them accountable. I'm fully on board with that. But with Officer Ruiz, this is what pisses me off. There was a photo posted of him not too long ago, and this proves my point, but people are so fucking stupid they won't acknowledge this. They never will. It's all just, well, what about? Officer Ruiz is in this viral photo. Yep. And he's got his AR-15 slung across his chest, and he's got his phone out with a Punisher symbol logo as the background. And everybody starts crucifying this guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, what's he doing? He's on his phone. What's the punishment? Just every social media armchair quarterbacking fucking little pogue simp crucifying this guy. Come to find out, his wife was murdered there.
Yep, she was getting text messages and phone calls from his dying wife.
He was detained. He was disarmed. Guys. This guy was being shredded on social media, and he was just trying to do what was right by his wife.
Yep.
And how many of you motherfucking pages, how many of you operators, how many of you influencers that run your stupid ass fucking meme pages that you jump the gun on this and you come out, oh guys, hey, we got to admit when we're wrong. We're sorry. No, there is no sorry. You didn't give him a chance. You fucking crucified this guy who's sitting there dealing with the tragic loss of his wife. And you're sitting there armchair quarterbacking this because some of you spec ops fucking meme pages want to sit there and pretend like you fucking know what happened. You didn't. Your tab and your stuff doesn't mean shit. You weren't fucking there. So there was no due process. There was no facts coming out. There was nothing. You just wanted somebody to throw to the fucking Roman mob of social media and give them the blood they wanted. Because guess what? Apparently dead kids gives us the right to say fuck due process. There's your apology. And the one guy that sat here, or the guys that sat here saying, hey, let's wait for the facts. What do we get told? Oh, you guys are, you're bootlickers. I got accused of trying to give you guys clout.
I know, I saw that. I was like, wow. Okay.
I got accused of giving you guys clout. We're sitting here saying like, hey, it makes sense to me to say, let's push pause on this. I don't think we're getting all the facts. And by the way, the very same MSM that we've seen for years lie to us and twist the truth. Now suddenly we're going to swallow it hook, line, and sinker? That's interesting to me. There, my rant's over. That shit just pisses me off because now all these pages are like, hey guys, we're sorry. Hey, good for you. You know, I take that back. I respect the fact you'll admit when you're wrong. I do appreciate that. I will say thank you for that. And hopefully, and I'm just mad, so please take this with a grain of salt. I hope that we don't make this mistake again, because the worst thing that I could see, and this is not about ego, this is not about id, this is not about being right or wrong. This is saying I just don't want to see potentially innocent people having their lives ruined just for doing the right thing. Clearly, these officers didn't. Fair enough on that.
And so multiple things unpacked there, but you brought up a good point, particularly with that viral photo, because when that came out, I think it was about yesterday, maybe the day before. It was late yesterday when I first started seeing it kind of pop up, and I already saw pages starting to retract, like, whoa, time out. We got this wrong. Like, this isn't just some dude jacking around on his phone. Like, this is the guy that I think about 2.5 weeks ago that everybody got outraged about because, like, they had to drag this guy out and they disarmed him and he was just trying to save his wife. And,
then it shifts again.
And now it's, so now you're shitting on the same guy that you were taking up for 2 weeks ago because you didn't have all the facts and you jumped the gun.
Yeah.
But it makes a good point because, again, we'll talk about real quick circular reporting. So, again, what that is where you get one source, and it might be shaky at best, but then one page or one media outlet grabs it and runs with it, and then of course
let's break it down even further.
Everybody wants to get further into it.
Forget media outlets, influencers are media outlets, whether they want to admit it or not. 100%. Depending upon the size of your following, you are a media outlet, and people will buy what you say, hook, line, and sinker.
100%, and that's where I think there needs to be some degree of accountability and responsibility to where, like, hey, if you've got a significant following. I think you do have a certain amount of ownership you've got to take to where if you're going to run with it and put something out, again, we talked about this last time, primary narrative wins. So once you establish that as the primary narrative, walking that back and putting
hard to undermine it.
Putting that lid back on the box, it rarely happens. But again, so you take that one little article or source and then 50 pages, take it and run with it.
Exactly.
And then that gets blasted out to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people sometimes, depending on the followings of those pages. And then boom, 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 boom. It makes the rounds around social media, goes viral. You know, people want to make memes and everything like that. And then before you know it, now you've got millions of people that are misinformed by pages that probably on more than one occasion have said, like, screw mainstream media, legacy media. They get it wrong. They're fake news. They're just feeding you bullshit.
If we get angry enough, suddenly it's right.
I am your messiah. Come to me. I have the tablets.
Let me think for you.
Let me think for you. I've got this figured out, because I was a 92 golf with no deployments. I know what I'm talking about. I make a mean Salisbury steak. Like, gotcha.
Let me tell you about breaching, though, what I learned in freaking airsoft school. Like, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up.
But so, you've got that aspect of it where you get this circular reporting and I can't say enough. I couldn't imagine what that Officer Ruiz is going through.
Dude, I don't even want. I'm surprised he probably hasn't committed suicide. I really am.
Yeah.
To sit there and think that you just lost your wife, you were trying to do the right thing, and then you come back and then social media says that you're just a piece of shit human being.
Yeah.
And they're freaking out over a Punisher logo on your phone. This is how petty and stupid our society is because of social media is fucking cancer. It really is. This shit is just, it's gotten so out of hand that, you know, and you sit here and you try and make this point to people. It's like, it's not saying I'm justifying what the officers did or didn't do. It's simply saying, based upon the evidence we got, this is not making sense. I think the media is lying to us, or somebody is lying to us. And then come to find out, even though with Officer Ruiz, the one little example, which to me is a big example, if we got that wrong, what else did we get wrong? Oh, should we talk about the Bortak officer?
Multiple.
Didn't all these influencers, didn't all these meme pages, didn't you suck this guy's dick? I think you did. Oh, he's the hero of Uvalde. Oh, come to find out, guess what? He sat around too. Didn't do a fucking thing. Oh, are you going to retract that? Are you going to walk that back? No, of course not. You can't do that because why? Oh, that means you're wrong. And you're not going to admit that because it's ego driven. This isn't about justice. This isn't about due process. It's about fucking ego. It's about getting things right for the sake of clout, likes, and followers. That's what it boils down to on these social media pages. And if people accuse me of the same thing, it's like, I'm actually going against the narrative on this one. This is going to lose me followers. If that's what it's really about, then why the fuck wouldn't I just turn around and suck everybody's dick like, oh, praise the Bortak?
And when it came to clout, I'll have everyone know, I got 7 additional followers to my Instagram. It was pretty legit.
Man, fucking Under Armour, sign this guy up.
Absolutely.
Let's get a sponsorship
I just hit like 1,000 followers on Instagram, like on the button.
I'm going to put you in some mankinis and get you a Curves and Combat boot contract.
Absolutely. I love it. Mm-hmm. Discount code to follow. So yes, all the clout. I got all the clout now.
This episode is brought to you by Shell Shock CBD. It's insane though. The shit that was levied at me and at y'all, and I knew it was coming, but even some personal friends were kind of like, they did the same thing. Like, bro, you're letting our friendship, your need to be right is more important than our friendship, and you're not even going to sit here and take for a second and think about what it is that I'm saying.
Well, and I think so let's kind of back up a little bit. Like, so looking at the video and everything that's going on right now, like, I'm angry too, but it's also, I processed that and now I'm still thinking critically because didn't really go into my background too much beforehand on the last time, because we actually talked about that after the show. It was like, man, Dan kind of gave like his whole thing. It's like, so been a police officer for 12 years, been a use of force instructor since 2011. I'm a manual and ballistic breaching instructor. Been doing that since 2016, 15 was when I went through the school. So again, I've done some things. I'm an instructor in multiple things. I teach at 2 police academies. Like, I've seen a lot of recruits, a lot of in-service officers. I've done a lot of training and instructing. So now it gets into the whole, we're starting to talk about tactics. And that's the main thing that I've still got the main question, because I'm looking at this whole situation in the hallway. And I'm watching. I'm like, officers. I was messaging back and forth with another buddy of mine, and I was like, dude, it looked like a T-Cole convention in that hallway. Yeah. Like, it's like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, okay. And again, everybody keeps going back to, you know, with all the information we have now, like the door was actually not secured and unlocked, and they could have actually presumably went in at any time, and why this and why that. But it's not making excuses, but you've got to look at it from the perspective of the people on the ground and what information did they have at the time when they're making decisions. That's period. End of list. That's with any situation, whether it's an officer involved shooting, because we've got case law about that. Tennessee v. Garner. Can't use 2020 hindsight when it was like, hey, he made a movement and pulled it out, come to find out it was a cell phone, looked like a gun, got shot. You can't say like, well, we conclusively know it's a cell phone, so now you're hemmed up. Like, you can't do that. And the same thing applies here. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this big gaggle in the hallway, and I was like, who the hell is in charge? Like, who's in charge? And I'm seeing state troopers now. I'm seeing Bortak. I'm seeing city, county, CVISD, or Uvalde ISD, and I'm seeing all this stuff. And again, it's like nobody's in control, command and control. And then at the flip side of that is, and this is the issue, and we'll talk a little bit maybe culturally about how law enforcement works, is had they knocked this out of the park and they went in there, they got the job done, boom, you know, everything was handled, bow on it, like the bad guy got killed and, you know, kids got saved quickly. There would be no shortage of people elbowing one another out of the way from different departments and administrators wanting to be in front of a camera and, hey, let me get on CNN, let me start my book tour, you know, let me do all this stuff. And now when it comes time to be held to task about who made what decision, who made what call,
It's career hot potato.
Now magically it's nope. And again, we've talked about this is, you're looking at Uvalde ISD. You're looking at a 6-officer department, including the chief, in a small town outside of San Antonio. Let's just say they probably don't have the biggest budget.
Yeah.
I don't know what their training looks like, but I guarantee you it's, and this is something that people need to understand. Like I've got some friends at other agencies where, medium-sized department, 300, 400, 500 officers. And then when you start looking at their budget, sometimes you'll have a department that's got 300 officers, and their annual training budget for the entire department, and this is for outside training, to go to classes, like it might be $50,000.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot when you think about it, because some of these classes that you go to,
exactly,
it's
like almost
$300 to $500, sometimes $1,000 for instructor courses.
I've seen classes up to like 5,000 per person, depending upon like the level of expertise being taught.
100%.
No.
And that's where government grants. There's some things that you can do to kind of kind of lessen the burden on that. But then on top of it, you've got travel per diem, lodging. You paying that officer to be there.
Yeah.
The lost man hours on the street.
So needless to say, defunding the police is not the answer.
Defunding the police is not the answer. But
weird how that works.
It's so odd. It's so odd.
Yeah.
And you sit there and so I would almost be willing to bet that, not knowing what the Uvalde ISD budget looks like, I'm betting it's probably not a very robust training budget.
Well, I do know though that their SWAT team had been trained like 2 or 3 months or 1 year.
Yeah.
What, you know more about that then?
Yeah. So I saw
because I know where you're going with this, and this is not trying to deflect and say, oh, it's because they didn't have the training. It's saying that the people that are actually trained were trained incorrectly.
Clearly something is going on to where my main question, and it was before and it still is now, is why?
Yeah.
How did we arrive at this point to where we said, okay, we've now transitioned from active shooter to BP/hostage situation. That's where we're at. And that's how we're going to approach this. And we're going to attack this problem. We don't have that answer yet.
The thing, the video, you said you watched, the hour and 22 minutes of it? The video that was...
And there's a lot of dead time where it's like, okay, we're just milling around the hallway.
And now they're saying that there was some audio that was edited out, that there was still shooting going on while they were in the hallway. I don't know if that's true or not.
So the only thing that I saw, and they made a tag in the video, and it said that they edited out screaming kids.
Yeah.
And it was about a couple minutes in. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's about an hour and 22 minutes floating around on the YouTube. And, it's one of those things where you're sitting there seeing like more and more and more, and these ballistic shields, like I could spend a whole time ranting on those things. Like they don't stop rifle rounds. Like sweet, it looks cool, good for great.
Well, with the idea of knowing that the door is unlocked and they didn't even try it, that changes everything entirely for me, to where it's kind of, even my opinion, it's like, well, wait a minute. What are you waiting for then?
Well, and
I get the active shooter versus barricaded shooter. I get that.
And then also when I saw the AAR brief and I saw a picture of the actual door, I'm like, oh, okay, I can understand why maybe you wouldn't try that door, because right in the middle there's about a 3-inch window.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you go up and try. There's a high probability you're going to be seen and you're going to take rounds through. Okay, again, before someone jumps on and makes a comment like, well, that's what they signed up for, and you should just go jump in.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, cool, dude. You go jump in a fatal funnel and get shot at by a rifle, and you let me know how that plays out for you.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's like, again, it goes back to the BP hostage situation where it's like, okay, you make that attempt, you make that approach, you fail, and then they start executing whoever's left. I do love that very easily stated, like, oh, that's what you signed up for. It's like, you didn't sign up to die. You signed up to be as effective as you can in neutralizing the target. Yep. And if you standing in a fatal funnel that even in the military is like you don't do, then explain to me why you try and use some excuse like, well, that's what you signed. No, that's not what you signed up for. No. You signed up to eliminate the bad guy. And if standing in the fatal funnel prevents that from happening, you just lost officers needlessly. There's a better way. Or sometimes it's just like, you got to go balls to the wall. You have no choice. Absolutely. So I'm getting tired of hearing this thing that these influencers are saying is like, well, that's what you signed up for. No, that's not. Yeah. You signed up to be in danger. You signed up to put your life on the line 100%, but you did not sign up just to die, simply to die. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. And I guess because it sounds so good on social media. It briefs well. It briefs very well. Oh, absolutely. And there's a difference in saying I signed up to be in danger, to potentially die, versus do something stupid that's going to get myself killed that is avoidable. Yeah. By making tactical errors. Well, and then you just, again, you can what if this down like 15 rabbit trails. Like, okay, cool. So you went full Leroy Jenkins and ran out and did something foolish, and then you got shot. Now you've got an officer down, then that's going to potentially change the timeline and the decision process for the command and control that's going on after that. So it's like, oh, now we got 2 officers down. Okay, now we got to go rescue them in addition to try to do this. And again, before someone says, well, blah, 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 you bypass the officers.
Yeah.
I get it. We can play the tactics
Yeah.
game all day. I get it. But at the end of the day, you're further compounding and adding
more
problems to a problem that's already very dynamic and a challenge. So it's like, come on, guys. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in watching the video, it still goes back to the main question that I still have is, how did we arrive at this is a BP versus active?
Mm-hmm.
And then who was in charge? Because now it is hot potato. It is Arredondo. No, it wasn't me. It was these guys. Oh no. And again, we can get into the politics of how different agencies kind of interact and just some of the, measurements that go into it. People wanting to kind of flex up. Because again, like I said, if this had gone off well, there'd be no shortage of
people
agencies and 3-letter agencies wanting to jump up there and say, hey, look at us, high five us. Like, we're so star-spangled awesome. We did great.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, wait. And I've seen this firsthand from some situations I've been in where when things go well, man, you want that name. There's some people that like showed up last on scene that, man, but they want to write that report. They want their name on that report that, hey, I did this and look at how awesome I am. But when things didn't go well, it's like, it was that guy.
Exactly.
It was that guy. It's like, no, sir. Let me explain to you how command works. You've got the bars on your collar.
That means good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad, And again, that's one thing that I'm waiting to see is, again, because there's probably going to be some civil ramifications out of this, and there's probably some.
There should be.
There's people that have, more than likely have. I think pretty much everybody across the board has lawyered up to some extent.
Yeah.
But it's that whole thing of, I think what a lot of people are wanting is someone to step up and say, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
Hey, this is on me.
You think it's going to happen?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. And if they do, it'll probably be something that is so watered down and boilerplate, like stock, like written by an attorney, to where it's like, I don't really accept any responsibility, but I say that I feel bad for what happened. And to where it's,
you want to pin it on them, but you can't.
Yeah. Precisely. And again, that's one of those main challenges that I think we're going to run into is just getting somebody to be held accountable. Because again, that's what people want right now. Yeah, is they want that
head,
they want that head to be put on a spike, and I don't disagree.
Yeah,
but again, I think a lot of people need to understand is this is going to be very similar to kind of a Pulse nightclub situation. Because again, I was talking with another buddy of mine because we were kind of kicking stuff back and forth about tactics in this one particular organization and their tactics. And I said, has anything, because there's a scenario that kind of very much mirrors this. And I said, has this ever been put into practice before? And I was like, oh, yeah, Pulse nightclub. I was like, oh. And then I was like, yeah, I remember that. And I started kind of getting into it and dug into the timeline. I was like, oh, wow, they waited almost 3 hours before they actually breached in and killed the bad guy. But then the interesting part was in digging through that, because we talked about like, hey, how many kids could have been saved if they had gone in immediately. About 2 years after Pulse nightclub, there was a medical publication that from an emergency medicine journal that they did an assessment of the injuries and the wounds of the people that unfortunately were killed at Pulse nightclub, and they determined that they believed that up to 16 people had a chance to survive their injuries had they breached sooner, or had people gone in and tourniqueted them, got them evac. They had the potential to survive. So you had 49 people died, 16 of them had the potential to survive.
Right.
Had there been a faster response. And this is so there's so many, but still it's like there's so many questions. But what I bring that up is because you're looking at this is not going to be a quick social media like, oh, hey, we're going to have an answer next week of
That's conclusively, what people want, though.
This is what you want. But you're looking at probably 12 to 24 months before you have something resembling a conclusive, well thought out, thorough report that you can actually look at. And
I
by
think
that
it's
time,
going to come a lot sooner, to tell you the truth, because there's just way too much heat on this.
Probably.
The fact that they're even releasing a lot of because they had the, my God, they carted off the door from the classroom over to the committee in Austin. The investigation that was going on. And they were actually releasing videos of this.
Sure.
And then, that's when we found out, the door was actually open. And based upon video footage, no officer even tried it. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But again, it proves the fact of we didn't know. Nobody knew until this investigation progressed further and we started seeing other things come to light.
Dan was over the house last night. He's on a different shift now, so that's where he's at. He's sleeping because he's on night shift now. He's adjusting as well as he can.
All that clout chasing's got him tired.
Absolutely. He's doing a lot of press events. It's insane. He's got his discount codes out the wazoo.
Oh man, I saw him in his cop car doing some freaking TikToks. And he was doing some dances.
He was.
Yeah, it was incredible.
He has rhythm. Yeah. He has rhythm. But
he's not, by the way. He's not doing that's
no,
not
God,
Dan
no.
stuff.
God,
Dan is
no.
the complete opposite. He hates that shit.
Yeah, no.
He probably's not even going to listen to this pie. He might because you're on it.
He might.
That's the only time. That's the only time. Outside of that, because like we'll talk, like, yeah, I don't even listen to your podcast. Well, fuck you, Dan. You too. It's like, fuck you, Pete.
Well, now that I'm working over in Fort Worth, I do listen sometimes.
It's too late.
I do listen sometimes.
Damage
I've got like an hour and a half.
My two closest friends don't even listen to the fucking podcast. It's just whatever.
Well,
I see what I am to y'all. I'm just a piece of meat.
Well,
Just a piece of meat.
Yeah. God dang it. Lost my train of thought.
Oh, shit.
Well,
we were talking about them putting a fire into this investigation, getting it out. You said 12 to 24 months it could come out. And then basically I said that I'm surprised that the Austin committee released the videos of, we didn't know that the door was open or stuff like that.
So this is the thing that Dan and I were talking about last night is that, a lot of people are really kind of wrapped around the axle on, okay, the door was unlocked. Why didn't they try the door? Why didn't they try the door? Why didn't they try the door? Well, you got to think about from the perspective of a reasonable officer working in that school and just knowing how schools kind of operate and lockdown procedures and things like that is, would it be reasonable for an officer to assume, and again, someone say, don't assume, blah, 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 make an ass out of you, me, cool, got it, awesome, you're the hero of the internet before it goes in the comments. But would it be reasonable to assume or infer that door is locked based on that facility and how things operate? I would say any reasonable officer would say, yeah, door's probably fucking locked. So again,
I don't know. Because at the same token, it's like you could still have the what if as far as like, why not go in through the window? And then we see the windows, like there's no way you
like,
could you
that wide.
couldn't.
Like,
You've gotten killed.
You're not getting through that.
That's another one where everybody's like, just go in through the window, and then you actually see it. Like, if you would have tried, you'd have been killed. He would have shot you. It'd been pointless.
You could have maybe gotten a gun in the room, and if you'd gotten lucky, you shot the guy. Cool.
Maybe because you'd had to break the window first.
Yep.
And those windows, by the way, they don't shatter. It's not those. I think they're also like that plexiglass kind of plastic. But the point was, it's like that was another like Robert O'Neill, Navy SEAL, supposedly killed Bin Laden. He's out there pounding his chest. Like, I'm surprised this dude was able to talk with his dick in his mouth. Like, it was incredible. It was like, back when I killed Bin Laden, we would have went. It was like, oh my god, okay, we get it, dude. But the point was, it's like, why didn't they go through the windows? Like, have you seen the windows? Do you know what they're made of? I mean, because again, if you actually once they saw the video or I saw the footage, like, there's no way.
Yeah, because they were like, so for those that don't know, it's like looking at the windows, they're probably from eyeballing it like. They're horizontal panels,
10 inches,
maybe
max.
10 inches max, and they go vertically up, and it's like,
and then they could have broken a window out and just shot him. It's like, but there were kids in there. They didn't know. They had no idea of knowing. And then that one officer, he silhouettes himself. He's dead.
Yeah.
So that's that's what they signed up for. No, that's pointless. You haven't fixed anything.
Again, there's so many this and what if, and I hate to say like
they should have just rappelled in from the ceiling because they should have like got the bolt cutters and like welded some shit.
Well, yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
That's
how it is in Call of Duty.
So. Well, it is number one, and number two, everybody knows that small town ISD police departments they have got. Dude, they've got an armory full of stuff on 1033 grant programs.
Hey, Tim, are we bringing the bazooka on this call, or are we going with the freaking the 240? Which one are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. And so again, before someone says, "Oh, we're not making excuses," but it's like, okay, let's look at the reality of how this is playing out.
Yeah.
And again, and it's something that you and I talked about was. Again, seeing a lot of these tactical influencers and these different individuals coming in, and it's like,
Jesus.
If you, and I'm just gonna say it, it's like, and it's no disrespect meant to anybody, but it's like if you were in the special operations community and you were tearing into a 6-person ISD police department, like you are punching down so far, it is almost comical.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you, if you were in that community.
With no other experience.
But at the same time, it's like, just to put it in perspective, again, we've talked a little bit about budgets and how this stuff kind of plays out. You were probably shooting more ammo at the range in a quarter than their operating budget is for the year. So let's put it into perspective as far as like tiers and levels of experience and expertise. And I get it. I am a huge proponent. Like, I'm an instructor. I love training. I love teaching. I think officers should be absolutely as well trained and as professional and proficient as humanly possible.
I was going to say as our military, but then we get accused of like having like freaking authoritarian officers. No.
Yeah. Well, and
it's
again,
kind of like you want them to be like, do you want to be warriors or do you not want them to be warriors? Which is it? Do you want them to be fighters or not?
Well, and that's what happened. And again, this is something we talked all this stuff because we ran out of time last time. But we talked about like for about 20 minutes after the last podcast wrapped was. Back about 2017, 2018, in law enforcement, we made this huge cultural shift to where we no longer wanted that warrior police officer, that no longer wanted that guy or gal to step up and be the one to take charge and really kind of go in there. And I don't want to say save the day, but not to have that hero complex thing, but really take charge and be assertive. They change it to where it's like, no, now you're a guardian. Yeah. You're a guardian and you're a steward of your community. And
it's not saying you're not, but
it's not saying you're not, but
you
it's
need
like
to have both.
There's a mindset, and you've got to have that switch. And unfortunately, something that I've seen over the last several years, especially in the academy, in an academy environment, is you get some individuals that
probably shouldn't be there.
Best way I can put it is, and the nicest way I can put it is, you've got two groups of people typically. You got people that should show up when you call 911, and then people that should probably call 911. And we're getting people.
I get it.
We're getting people that are getting through the process and getting hired on with agencies that probably should be in the latter category, where it's like they should probably call 911.
Yeah,
and I'll give you
same in the military.
I'll give you a prime example. So my thing is, I teach defensive tactics. I teach mechanics of arrest. So teaching cops how to fight. And again, the reason why I got into that, and I'm very passionate about it, is because everybody wants to be the gun guy. Everybody wants to be the firearms instructor. Yeah. Less than 1% of officers are involved in a non-duty shooting in their entire career. If you're in this business for any length of time, 100% of the time, you're going to get into a fight. Yeah. Period. Like, that's just the reality. Unless you're hiding in an office somewhere, you have gotten into some kind of a knockdown, drag-out fight. Yeah. So we're sitting there, we're going through, and it's their collect. So they get, in this academy, they do 4 days where they do basically they're testing on all their practical skills. So they do like a fake DWI stop, felony stops, building searches, all this stuff. And then, of course, myself and my training partners, we're doing the defensive tactics portion. And there was this officer, and just could tell was just kind of going through the motions. And the scenario that we do is it's called Fight Gone Bad. And all it is real simple. It's some basic jiu-jitsu stuff to where, it's Fight Gone Bad. So the instructor is in the mount. They've got to escape twice in under a minute. And we put them through some basic calisthenics, get their heart rate up, because, again, can't legally shoot at them to get their heart rate up. So it's like, hey, you're in a fight, get their heart rate up, and then they've got to escape. And this officer in particular, they we're just kind of half-assing it. And the lead instructor, a buddy of mine, he pulled them aside and said, hey, we briefed this, we taught this, we did like 3 weeks of instruction on this. Like, you seem pretty all about it, when we were doing this. Are you sick? Are you hurt? Like, is everything okay? And I kid you not, I was standing there and I heard this, and if I didn't hear it myself, I wouldn't have believed it. This officer said, I don't know why I need to know this stuff. Jesus. And to which the follow-up question, of course, was, okay, do you expand on that? Well, based on where I'm going to work, and I won't name the agency because I don't want to dime them out, but it was basically they said, well, I'll just use my words and I'll never have to actually put hands on anybody. And again, that's the mentality. And I'm not saying that's all officers and everything. Right, but again, those officers exist. And again,
it sounds like they should be a social worker.
100%. And this is at a regional academy that services, I think the total counts like it's over like 150 agencies in the North Texas area that they send their officers to this academy to get trained. And these are the people that are getting hired. And I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for that. Again, Dan and I met in grad school, and our graduate degrees were in conflict management. I understand how to use words and how to kind of talk people down.
And verbal judo and how to de-escalate, all that. Yeah,
absolutely. But you still need to have the tool and have that little bit of starch in your ass that you're gonna handle business when you need to. And I think that's one of the things that we've gotten away from, as far as just having that individual to step up. And that's sorry, now I'm gonna get on a little tangent. That's the other thing where I see a lot of people saying like, well, all those guys, I'd have been the one to lead the charge. I'd have been the one. I'd have been through the door. I'd have done this. I'd have done that. And it's like, well, actually, I can explain to you real quickly from a sociological standpoint why you probably wouldn't. And it's all about the power of groups. Group dynamics are a scary thing, and we as a species are scarily easy to control, particularly in a group. And so it's one of those things to where, and again, it can be the power of one. Again, but if you've got 20 dudes in a hallway and none of them are moving,
that's why it didn't make sense to me. It's like, I have never seen cowardice in numbers, not to that extent.
And I don't know if it was cowardice. I think it was just a breakdown of command and control, where it's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing? We're all here. Like, I guarantee.
And by the way, there were officers in that stack that had kids in there.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that's like they were cowards. Like, I'm sorry, but you're a father. I'm a father.
No.
If that was my kid, there isn't a single person in this world that I would not cut their throat to get my kid out.
Absolutely.
So I would not sit there and think that these officers are cowards. I think that based upon what we're seeing now, it's like I honestly feel like they like you said, the communication, like they were told to stand down or whatever the case might be, and they followed orders. Whether that's right or wrong in your own opinion, for those listening, I get it. But at the same token, it's just like, that's why I just didn't believe it at first. I was like, there's just no way that 20 dudes can be stacked in a hallway and
chilling.
Everyone just cowers out. That doesn't make sense. I have never seen that. Even in combat, dude. Even in combat, if you're stacking on a house and you got a 4-man stack, you're going.
Yeah.
You're going. There's no, like, it never had, like, if one guy's feeling hesitant, everybody's like, saddle up, Charlie. You're fucking going.
Yeah.
There's only been one experience I've had of cowardism under fire. And it's when one of my kids ducked down on the 50 because we were in heavy contact in the Korengal. And this kid, like, fetal position, crawled, literally, basically threw him in the side, put somebody else in the gun, told him to get the fuck in the bunker and just stay there. That was the only time. And that was some really bad shit. So, and that was only like 4 of us on that observation post. So you got 20 dudes in a hallway, and it's just like, wait, that just doesn't make sense.
And that's where it, to me, looking at it from an instructor perspective and trying to understand as a supervisor, like how we arrived at that point where, like, okay, who's calling the shots? What is going on the ground to where this seems like a viable course of action? Like, how did we arrive here?
Well, you explained before that there were several different agencies there, and they're not on the same frequency.
They're not on the same
Everyone's got their own. That's the other thing. It's kind of like the biggest issues in combat when it comes to communication is the biggest one is noise of battlefield.
Yep. Noise
of battlefield is a huge factor. And then you take into account, and this is what people don't think, or they don't think about really in depth, is that, like, not all these cops have the same radios. Everyone's on different frequencies.
Yep.
And you've got 3 different talking heads giving 3 different sets of orders, trying to coordinate something. That's why you see in those movies, like the jurisdiction, like, okay, well, this is my scene now, I'm calling the shots.
Yep.
As stupid as it sounds, that's exactly what you have to have. You've got to have one head who calls the shots and everyone else follows orders. Because if you don't, you've got 3 talking heads and 3 different sets of orders going to 3 different agencies, and now you've got just anarchy on the battlefield.
Well, and it goes down to, again, this is all speculative, but it's one of those things to where in my opinion, one of the best qualities of a leader is humility and understanding, like, hey, I'm out of my depth.
Yeah.
Like, hey, sweet. Like, I don't know what Arredondo was going on or anything like that, but it's like, hey, I have a 6-man agency. Hey, I got someone here that's from a much larger agency that probably has more proficiency in this. Like, hey, I'm going to
step aside.
I'll provide support and I can get you a layout. I can get you this. I can get you that.
Yeah.
But hey, you run this.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened, and we'll find out eventually. But it's like, understanding that sometimes you got to take that step back.
Yeah.
Or again, because that's not the time for egos, and there's no shame in saying, like, hey man, I've been through like one active shooter class 2 months ago, but you've been through SWAT school and you've been, hitting 10 houses a week for the last 5 years. Like, maybe you take the lead on this. Maybe you can plan this a little bit better than I can.
There was the other thing that everybody was talking about.
Hand sanitizer guy.
Well, yeah, that one. Like that. I mean, there was 2 things: the hand sanitizer guys, and then Arredondo. Hand sanitizer guys, same thing as Officer Ruiz. They're just freaking out about this dude getting hand sanitizer. It's like, okay. It's like, I get it. Like, number one, I think that one was just adding fuel to the fire. They're standing around, this guy's getting hand san. Okay, I get it. Stupid. Roger.
Whatever.
But now we're just freaking out about, like, what? Like, about hand san. I get it.
How does that
exactly
impact the overall situation? And again, we were talking about before we went on, I was like, looking
and for me, and let me first clarify real quick.
Yeah.
That's not sitting there saying these officers are justified. It's like, okay, we're being mad about stupid shit at this point versus the real crux
actual
of the situation.
Issue to be, if you want to be mad about something,
then be mad about why the fuck were they standing around for an hour or some change? Why didn't they go in? That now for me, it's kind of like towards like, look, if these officers, let me just put this out there officially. It does not look good for these officers.
No, God, no.
It doesn't. Therefore, I don't agree with what happened. I'm against it. They should be held accountable. Somebody should be. I want to know who the fuck is being held accountable for this.
Yep.
Because clearly this is a massive breakdown of communication and some other issues. But the reason I've come to this determination is because why? We took our time, let the facts come out, and we start seeing things from different perspectives and starting to understand, like, you cannot jump the gun because we don't have all the facts. We don't know. And the MSM misreports left and right. And we still fall for this.
Well, and again, it's gotten to the point to where
Y'all said it before too. The first initial report is always wrong.
Always wrong. I mean, that's an intel thing. Like initial reports are almost always wrong.
Even in the military, when we did source operations, and I don't think I think this is common knowledge. Like before we hit, this is back in 2006 in Iraq. We were running our own sources, completely illegal, but nobody fucking cared. You're an MI weenie, you know what I'm talking about. Well, I'm not gonna go. Point was, you actually have to have military intelligence teams on the ground to do source operations. You're apparently not supposed to do it.
You need a 35 mic with you, Jonathan.
Apparently, but this is back when the war was still like the surge was kicking off. So when we basically had our own little source group, if you will. And if we had 3 different sources coming from 3 different areas saying a very similar thing, there was something there.
Sure.
And it became actionable. We started investigating that. If you had 2 sources coming from the same area saying the same thing, it's okay, wait a minute. We got to start looking into this more. But where there's smoke, there's fire, depending upon the sources. And it feels to me to where it's just kind of like we're getting all kinds of just different things here in different perspectives, different things. Like, wait a minute, something is not adding up. Like, it's too much. There's no consistency here. And everything has changed.
And I think part of what it is, and I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago with somebody, and I said, we've gotten to the point to where this story, I hate to say they're milking, but like in the news cycle, like they've got to find something to keep coming up. And it's gotten to the point to where it's almost asinine to where
it's hate headlines.
It's hate headlines, but it's one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised if, it's like just breaking, Chief Arredondo, he normally had a bagel every morning for breakfast, but on this day he had a muffin.
Exactly.
Was his blood sugar off that day? Is that, and it's like, dude, okay, like, all right.
That was the other point that I was trying to talk about was the everybody was talking about like they're no longer cooperating with the press or the investigation.
Dude,
stuff like
I
that.
wouldn't either.
I wouldn't, and that's the thing that like these people are so quick to. Well, why are you doing that? Because you're guilty.
I'll tell you right now. So here's the deal.
Listen up to this because people need to hear this and understand this.
Here's what I would think, because again, I said this to a lot of people. Like, you're talking 36 hours after it happened, the head of the agency that is going to be investigating you goes on record and goes on TV saying you guys screwed the pooch and dropped the ball. Do you think
I'm going to trust that guy?
You're going to trust that agency to investigate you? More importantly,
whether you're right or wrong,
and we talk about integrity.
Yeah.
Do you think that investigator is going to stake his career and say, "Hey, boss, we did an investigation, and turns out you ran your mouth, and hey, there's some stuff that you kind of got your
DPS had to walk back their statement." I'm surprised they did.
Hey, and
I'm surprised they good for them.
So kudos to the Uvalde mayor because he called them out because it was when they went down the Capitol. Because and for those of y'all, the stuff going on in Austin, it's, in my opinion, January 6th 2.0. This is a show, dog and pony show. Yeah. Like, this is not the actual investigation. Like, DOJ is going to do their thing. Like, this is
the state reps wanting to get answers.
Yeah, they want some answers on some stuff. Like, this is
some good did come from it, though. Sure. I'll give you that. Some good did come, but the actual investigation is going to go way deeper.
But he got up on the stand and said some stuff about basically trashing Uvalde and the city and the ISD and everything like that. And then the mayor said, well, let's talk about the 9 troopers you had in the hallway. And basically his response initially was nuh-uh. And now the video comes out and it's like well, yes, huh? So, hey, and then it's like, oh, well, troopers don't typically take over command of a scene from another agency and jurisdiction. Cool, dude, I get it. But you can't trash an agency and then your agency's standing right next to him on video doing the exact same thing. Yeah. And I'm not trashing troopers. I'm not trashing. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, this is where administration and administrators sometimes they
need to shut up,
get on TV and they say some things like, dude, you got a public affairs officer, you got a PIO for a reason.
Exactly. That was the other point that like, I just don't have the energy to argue with people anymore on social media because instantly comments like, what about this was like, dude, I'm not a fucking lawyer. I don't owe you any explanation. I don't.
No.
And that's what pisses me off is that everybody wants to come at me with this argument. It's like, look, I can do this podcast so many different times. I can make so many different posts and explain certain things. But after all, it's like, I don't have the energy because I just don't fucking care.
Well, at the end of the day,
the point that I was trying to make though is that situation, people, they're so biased. The cognitive dissonance is at such an extreme level that we've forsaken all critical and rational thought process, all of it, to where even where I'm sitting there's like, what about when they came out and said this? Like, yes, and they were wrong.
Yeah.
The dude that was like the head of the department fed him the wrong information and he should have shut up because he didn't even know.
Yep.
It's like, this was a massive breakdown of epic proportions on different levels.
God, yeah.
So this is like just one big, I was going to say, forgive me for saying it, but whatever. This is one big clusterfuck.
Oh, yeah.
Of just things gone awry. And it feels like there's a lot of people that can receive blame on this one. But again, the point still stands of give it due process, let the investigation happen, stop screaming for the blood of people that potentially could be innocent, like Officer Ruiz, which hopefully his life isn't ruined over this. I think hopefully there'd be enough meme pages out there that recant their demonization of this poor guy. But if that happened to him, it can happen to other people.
100%.
We've seen this. And that's the overall point that I'm just trying to sit there and say, pump the brakes. I get that you're angry. We're all angry. 19 kids died.
Yeah.
This is unsatisfactory. This is fucking horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible. But that does not give you the right to sit there and say, hang them. No. You still have to have due process. Just because you're angry does not give you the right to forsake due process. Mm-hmm. But these same types that will come out there and they'll argue me until they're blue in the face. And it's like, you're just a bootlicker. It's like, no, you sound like a liberal right now. You really do. You sound like you're a leftist that just wants to let your emotion overrule your rational thinking. And it's not I'm not saying to slow down, or I'm not saying that slowing down and allowing the investigation to happen should clear the officers, but instead it should give us a good light of what actually happened. And then you can make your decision. Nobody says you have to be mad now, or nobody says you have to come to a conclusion now, because I think that's what we're so accustomed to. We see this headline. It's like clickbait. We see this headline, we click it. Oh, Trump said he hates all the black people. And then it's like, what the fuck? And you read the headline and say, that's horrible. And then you read the actual article and it has nothing to do with that. And it's like, what the fuck?
Basically where we're at right now is like, y'all can build the gallows and tie the nooses, but find out what next need to be in those nooses.
Exactly.
Like, hey, I'm not saying don't be ready and want accountability, but make sure the right people are doing it. But
that's how people instantly react when you say pump the brakes. Like, oh, so you're supporting them? It's like, based upon the evidence that we've got right now and we go by what the AP reported, I feel like we're being lied to. There could be something wrong with this. Yeah. And don't these people deserve due process? And like we said in the podcast, we said if new evidence comes to light, then we reserve the right to change them, and we've changed our minds. It's like, okay.
In the same time, though, is even, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's like even looking at the AP, like we're talking through it, and it's like, oh, this doesn't make sense because again, the initial narrative was they stood outside the school for an hour and didn't even go in the school for an hour.
True.
It's like that's not true. That's what we were trying to be like. This doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And these same people saying, well, I called it. It's like, you called what?
Called what?
The story's changed a million times until now. So you got lucky. You didn't go by facts and logic. You just said, I'm angry. This is what I think. I'm right. No, you got lucky.
They should probably start a tactical YouTube channel.
Oh, they probably should.
They probably should.
They could showcase gear.
Shoot at a flat range all day.
Go get some 511 gear, and the next time, absolutely.
Let's get some 18 Alpha Chronicles. Oh, he's got it improves your accuracy.
Vance, love you, brother. 18 Alpha Chronicles. He was, he's a good dude. I love Vance.
Yeah,
but I'm so sick and tired of all this bullshit. It's just everybody and their mom. Like Izzo, Izzo was one of the very few people that actually, he didn't take my side, but I saw what he was posting. He was like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Give it time. He's a very controversial dude, but so am I. So I get that. But even in today, he posted about how some people got some things wrong already. He's like, so when are you guys going to learn to shut the fuck up and let the facts come out? Instantaneously in the comments, and it was a picture of Officer Ruiz with the photo, and everybody's like, well, why? I just think that he shouldn't be on his phone. Shut the fuck up, Karen. Shut the fuck up. You don't even know what gunpowder smells like. Shut the fuck up.
And let's just not even play devil's advocate. Let's just take a different situation, because hand sanitizer guy.
Yeah.
Okay. He was on his phone.
Yeah.
I can tell you, because again, I had to watch it like 2 or 3 times because I was like, does this guy even have a weapon? He didn't have it out. And then I was like, oh, nope, there it is. Okay, cool. And just looking at the way he's dressed and everything like that, it's like, I can either tell you he's either an investigator from CID or he's some kind of admin guy who's in an office and, hey, he heard it going down.
Yeah.
Got his stuff on and went there. And, he's on his phone. He's sending text messages, he's making phone calls. So, like, he's...
clue who he's talking to. He could be communicating with his own. We don't know.
I would almost guarantee you he's doing some kind of coordination to the rear. Yeah. Because, again, when you're in these emergency type situations... They clear the channel of all traffic, like hold all traffic, hold all non-emergency traffic. So you're not going to be cross-talking on the radio. There's no talk around channel. You want to stay on the main channel. So again, the magic cell phone, that becomes your alternate means of communication. So they very likely could be relaying orders with text messages, phone calls, things like that.
Your PACE plan, your primary alternate contingency and emergency.
Yeah, PACE plan.
It's almost like you've done this before.
Weird. I know.
I'm sure the Karens out there on social media know all about that.
I'm hoping it's clout. Come on, clout. I really
Code Pete gets you 10% off of nothing on Shell Shock.
Get you 10% off of nothing.
We've got these tactical eggplants.
Oh, so that way, no, spray painted black.
Oh, they're
but then it'd be bigger.
Exactly. That way you can confuse any potential freaking bad guys by throwing it at them. They're like, wait, what are you, gay? And then you shoot them, and there you go.
That's the key.
That's a great. We call that the Dick Confuser. They confuse your dick.
I love it.
I love it. You could have like a barricaded person, or you could have like somebody robbing a bank, whatever. Yeah. And then you just chuck it in there, and they're like, "Wait," and they look at it. Is that a dick? Bam! You shoot them. That's how you do it. Distractor. It would work on me.
You could probably start doing some classes.
Oh yeah, and depending upon what part of Dallas you throw this in, they might try and start sucking it.
So
interesting.
Dear God, this is me about to get on a soapbox again, real quick. So I saw something that I was just like, oh my God, you guys are probably some of the worst human beings on the planet. So there were a couple. I'm not going to name them, but there were some.
Oh, please do.
No. There's some tactical training groups that, I kid you not, probably within days, if not a week of Uvalde, all of a sudden, magically on their training calendar, $300 one-day breacher course. Like, and it's like. Dude, wow. Like, really, number one, $300 for an 8-hour block of instruction. Like, I get it, breaching. Like, maybe you got some supplies, you're blowing up some shit, breaking some shit. Cool, you got some added cost, but like $300 for an 8-hour block of instruction. Like, a little steep there, guy. Yeah. And then you click on, and it's like, I don't see any like special operations experience. Like, cool, dude, you were a cop for 6 years.
Yeah.
Great.
Everybody's an expert.
And it's not to say that you can't get a lot of experience in that time and all that great stuff. But it's like, I don't think you really have the credentials to command $300 for an 8-hour block of instruction. Does that mean that the training isn't necessary and anything like that? But it's like, dude, like,
You're certainly not getting your money's worth.
Not a good look.
Yeah.
Not a good look. When it's like, hey,
well, I breached this building in airsoft, so I know what I'm talking about.
Airsoft is fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
That broke us the fuck off.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
that was fun though.
It was one of those things where like we went out there and we're like, man, and it was like, holy shit.
Those little 12-year-old kids were smoking the shit out of us.
Yeah, they were legit.
That's what pissed me off about that. It was like we utilize military tactics and they're not.
No.
And it was just like, yeah, you don't hide in trees in combat. That's not the way. No. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Because if this was real, you would not be doing that.
No, but we learned. We learned, and then we wrecked them, damn near killed them.
Those little
shit. It was fun.
It was
fun. Like, oh God, you poor children. Like, you're gonna have some bad times. But yeah, man, it's one of those things to where this whole situation, again, it's going to play out eventually.
Yeah.
But it's like, when is it gonna finally?
That was the other thing, and I didn't have an answer to this.
What's that?
Number one, they were like, okay, well, if we're gonna go with the investigation, we can't trust the MSM. Fair enough.
Cool.
We can't trust the government. Fair enough. Who are we supposed to trust?
Good question.
I don't have an answer for that.
And again, it's what investigating agency still has the integrity to where people trust it, sight unseen, and like it's gospel. And I don't know. But at the same time,
that's all I can say is, like, to my answer, the only answer I can give is that when they present you the evidence, make your own assessment.
Yeah.
And that's what they should do. Yeah. They should present it to you.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
Once the videos came out where they were like, yeah, hey, we've confirmed through video surveillance of the school that they never even tested the doors.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fair enough.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Then it starts to say, okay, well, we've identified this problem. What was the causation of said problem? And then you can kind of, but that also comes with the presentation of facts that you did not know prior to this investigation goes. So I just want to give a big round of applause to everybody that got it right. I hope you're good. All the blue check influencers.
Well, they're still not right, technically, because there's no definitive report on.
There isn't.
They're kind of confirming their own bias. So
exactly.
It's called confirmation bias.
Yes. Oh, that's right. The very same party of facts and logic. And I think a lot of this, honestly, quite truthfully, is people just want to hate cops.
Oh.
And trust me, there's more than enough reason to hate a lot of cops. I get that. But there's also more than enough reasons to like a lot of cops.
Well, and there are people that just want to be mad and you want to be angry, and I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. Like, there's things that I saw in that video where, again, as an officer, I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah.
But I know not to be mad at those individuals on the ground. I know whom it's that whole thing of, like, when you go out to eat, if your food isn't prepared properly,
do you get mad at the waitress?
Do you yell at the waitress? Yeah. Or when you should be yelling at the cook? Because that's the dude who prepared your food. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm at the same point with this where it's, okay, again, we need heads on spikes. We need to find the right heads. And I want to know who was in charge, who was making the calls, what information they had. Because, again, that is going to be very telling with all of this as far as decision making.
I hate to get into this, but we need to get into this because this is what other people don't seem to understand. It's like, why didn't the officers just disobey the order? If they were ordered to stand down, which I think they were, or to stand by, why didn't they disobey?
Oof, that's a tough nut to crack. But I can tell you it's one of those things to where...
When do you make the call to disobey an order?
When do you make the call to disobey an order? And then you've got all kinds of ramifications to where I can tell you a lot of the training as far as civil liability and things like that, you just go sua sponte and just go do your own thing. and then you're wrong or you screw it up,
you're done.
You are done,
and possibly jail time.
Because if you did something that is so egregious that it borderlines criminal, like, hey,
People
guess what?
don't realize this though. As far as like being a police officer, it's kind of like your ass is in the sling if you get it wrong. If you're right, nobody fucking cares. Good for you. But if you're wrong, they're gonna come for your head.
Yeah. Well, and then it goes back to that whole changing of mentality over the last several years.
Yeah.
Is you got some people that are afraid to make a decision again because one of the reports came out,
and that's the worst thing you can do.
They were trying to, one of the officers, again, that was, I guess now it's been disproven. I've seen some conflicting things where it's like, oh, there was an officer that had a bead on the guy outside the school with his rifle, and he didn't take the shot because he was calling for permission to engage. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And then the Uvalde mayor came back and said, no, we've actually sent that report up, and that officer said that he had it, and then come to find out it was like a coach with some kids outside the school, so it wasn't the right guy.
Good thing.
But then also in one of the initial AARs that I saw, and again, some people were trashing this guy, like, how could he not take the shot? He had a rifle, this, that, and the other, when it was, is it going to be this guy? And I think the shot was 140 meters, which again, well within the effective range of a rifle.
But that's a
moving target.
Yeah.
140 meters,
not easy.
moving target. And then the reason that the officer gave for not taking the shot was, I didn't know that I could make the shot, and if I threw the round, it would potentially go into the school and hit a kid. It's like, okay, shit situation.
Yeah.
Shit decision. It sucks.
Yeah.
But that's the reality because, again, Chapter 9 of the Penal Code, you, as an officer,
you
and even as a
that
citizen,
round
you
all the
own
way down.
every round. Every round that comes out of your weapon.
What would happen if, say, for example, that officer did take the shot, missed, and hit a kid and killed a kid? What do you think would happen to that officer?
It's murder.
He's murdered?
Yep. Or criminally negligent homicide. But yeah.
And then he's going to jail.
Criminal charges, going to jail.
Yeah.
And civil.
Jesus.
Yep. And that's the reality is, and again.
That's not making that up. That's realistic.
That's realistic. Chapter 9 of the Penal Code, Google it, go look. Civil remedies unaffected. And that's in there too.
People don't realize this stuff though. They don't understand that these officers also have to think about it. And I hate saying this because it shouldn't be that way. Because sometimes it's like, look, shit happens, and I'm not trying to make light of that situation.
No.
But sometimes bad things are going to happen when you're trying to achieve good results.
Yep.
And for somebody to be held accountable for trying to achieve something good and something bad happens as a byproduct, that's not right. But that's the way it is.
Well, and you've got now to where the culture has shifted to where you've got officers now that, again, at agencies of all sizes, that because of different movements to fund the police, different things like that, to where they're under such a microscope for even doing the basics. But you've got officers are like, screw this. I'm showing up. I will clock in. I will go to the calls I am dispatched to. I will do no proactive. Yeah. And you're still seeing the results and the fruits of that.
Especially when departments don't back their own people, when their people are right.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dallas was notorious for that for a while. Like, Jesus, like dudes, like officers were being thrown under the bus left and right to appease the BLM, the rest of these other clown shows out there. You're like, well, we want this, blah, blah. It's like, but you were wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and then the officers are going like, oh my God, when they took a knee, and that's cosmetic. That's not even a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
but
just like,
it's still a very pertinent thing for most officers to face. It's like, okay, if you get this wrong, your life is over.
Yeah.
Your life is over. You better make damn sure you have that shot. Or you better make damn sure you make the right call. You better make damn sure that is actually a gun that they're pulling and not a cell phone. And guess what? If it is a cell phone and you kill him, your life is over. If it's not a cell phone, he takes a shot, your life is potentially over.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I got a lot of respect for cops. I don't respect the cops that enforce these tyrannical lockdowns, like a lot of the NYPD. And that's where I think the differential comes into play. It's kind of like there are good cops out there. There are. Like you and Dan are definitely two of good ones that we've talked. I'm not going to say what we talked about. Yeah,
I'm all right.
I'll give you,
But
when you're fast asleep, I'll give you that. But there are cops out there that's like, no, we are constitutionalists. Like we will enforce the Constitution. We will live up to the Constitution. And then I had this one cop who was at a Fort Worth who he came across somebody tagged me on his Facebook post. He's like, I hope they do take away, blah, blah, blah. As a cop, I'd love to freaking strip the civilians of their guns. It's like, oh, I'm going to post you. I'll make you famous. And that dude and his wife came after me. He's like, oh, but like, you're a shit cop. It's like, fuck you and that badge.
Yeah, that's one of those things to where, again, we briefly touched on, it's like the logistics of doing that.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
it's not realistic.
Number one, probably not gonna happen. Number two,
350 million guns. You said 750,000 officers.
Give or take. Yeah,
that's including the feds. Good luck.
Yeah, that's everybody who is a law enforcement officer. Yeah,
literally went door to door. That ain't happening.
Yeah. And when you get to the whole middle of the country, where probably a lot of those weapons reside, you got a lot of small agencies. Good luck. Good luck.
Especially if they revolt.
God, man, yeah.
But Eric Swalwell had a good point. We could just nuke them.
Well, you could. Well, don't they grow a lot of food in like that middle flyover area of the country? No,
According
food,
to
no food
Wanda
production.
Sykes, the middle area, the Bible Belt, they don't do anything.
They don't.
No, it's just California, New York. That's where we get the majority of our oil, farm, poultry, all that stuff. Yeah.
So no corn, no wheat,
No.
strawberries.
No.
Weird.
I don't know where you're getting that from.
I don't know.
Our liberal overlords said that the exact opposite, so I believe that.
I have never driven through those states
Really?
at all, and I mean,
You'll see nothing. It's a barren wasteland.
Barren wasteland.
Those
Got
wheat
it.
fields are just there for show.
Got it.
That corn's not even real.
It's part of the Matrix.
It is. They just use it for filming horror movies and stuff. Like if you go downtown Manhattan, that's when you see most, or Chaz, the city of Chaz. They had the little crop farms there. That's where they were doing a lot of exporting.
That was the saddest thing I've ever seen.
What happened with that? Like,
So
it was so funny how that starts, and the first thing they do is what? They put up a fucking wall. It's like, it's like walls work. Interesting.
Well, and that whole thing was, they were trying to plant that little garden.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, wait a minute. You put down newspaper over top of the sod, and then you poured like some Miracle Grow like soil, and you stuck like 3 tomato plants in it. It's like, you've got like 200 people here, right?
This is gonna do shit.
This
is gonna make one sandwich.
And by the way, those plants aren't mature yet, so you're looking at probably 6 to 10 weeks until that actually produced. Like,
oh my god!
Y'all didn't think this out, did you? It's like, this is a lack of planning here.
I think it was all representational of what they wanted to achieve. It's like, so you wanted to create your own city inside of a city that who you voted for already destroyed. Okay, that makes sense. But the first thing, again, they put up walls and they started handing out guns. And what kind of guns? AR-15s. So the very same liberal move or people that were kind of like, it's a weapon of war. Man, you certainly loved it when you want to establish your own little utopia. Oh, and by the way, there were rapes happening there. And then everybody said you should give a black person $10.
Well, didn't we...
like legitimately, they said that. They said like if there. I remember the video that came out. I think it was a Native American dude, and there's like if you want to make right with reparations, and right now give every black person $10. It's like,
well, the thing that I thought was
why just come to the conclusion of $10? Like how did that factor in?
Very interesting is when they set up their little walls and their checkpoints and things like that. Yeah. Media very much glossed over a story where some kids tried to drive in there and their little security force thing, they lit up a car and I think they killed one for sure, if not 2 like teenagers in a vehicle.
Wow, it's almost like the whole shoot don't shoot
didn't go any weirdest thing. Like I didn't see anything come out of it. I've not seen an arrest reported.
You mean the social media justice warriors weren't good at freaking doing identification on shoot don't shoot? They just wow.
I mean, my job is pretty easy, so I've been told, but. Yeah, apparently they got it wrong that day.
They should have been posting more on social media and hashtagging. It would have made it better.
It would have. It would have. Or
they could have like hashtagged I stood with something. Or I supported the current thing.
If they had more social media clout.
Yeah.
If they followed more tactical influencers, they could have known how to do that.
Oh, 100%. It's a shame we don't have influencers at Uvalde right now. Out there showcasing the brand sponsors and saying they're there to do this, that, and the other. It'd been great. Yeah, absolutely. Love that clout chasing. Yeah,
dude, I'm just, yeah.
I don't have any friends. It's okay.
And neither do I. Like I hang out with like you, Dan, and like one other person. Sometimes.
And we can barely stand each other. So
absolutely, it's like we all live within about 10 minutes of each other, and we see each other maybe once a month. It's by design. It's like, no, don't come over to my home.
Small doses. Well, brother, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast
I appreciate
today and clarifying more of this. And again, we might do this again in the future as more facts come out, and we'll address it then. But as far as the apology everybody's waiting for, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, there's nothing really to apologize for because we didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't definitively stand on anything to say like, hey, this is what's what, and now more information is like, yeah. Like, I'm with you. I'm pissed off too, but I want to understand the why.
That's why all these comments, it's from all these fucking E4s and below. These guys that never led troops in combat. They never made any command decisions. They didn't do shit. They were probably shitbags in the service. Or these guys that did like maybe 1 or 2 years as a cop and they quit because they couldn't handle it. It's the very same types out there saying, so why are you defending these officers? Like, it's not a matter of defending. It's a matter of saying, let's look at this logically. Let's break this down. Something is wrong. Something is off.
Do you want to be mad or do you want to solve the problem? Because if you want to be mad, that's fine.
Be mad.
I'm fine with it. Be mad.
Yeah,
be pissed off. Yeah. Be pissed off.
But by saying that I want to solve the problem and get the facts first, it's like, well, then you're supporting them. It's like, no, that's supporting the truth. Regardless of which side those officers are on the truth, it's the truth. That's all there is to it. But Jesus Christ, like, dude, the veterans that I see, and I know they're veterans because it's all over their social media. Like, oh, I have one veteran. It's literally the same types of people. It's literally the same. Yeah. They're fat, out of shape, beard, operator ball cap. It's like, oh, so because you were in the shit. You got that 1,000-yard stare, man. You got that 1,000-yard stare at the green bean coffee, you fat fuck, and you didn't do shit over there. I'm so tired of these fucking people. I'm so tired of them because there's been a few that'll comment. It's like, okay, it's like when somebody cuts you off in traffic. What do you got to do? You got to pull up and you got to look to make sure they look as stupid as they drive.
Oh yeah.
So it's the same thing. You leave a stupid comment. You got to click on that profile. It's
100%.
Yep, confirms.
Yep.
You're just you fat, out of shape, rocking some grunt style shit, operator ball cap, some cute little Oakley sunglasses or whatever, and like fucking, you stomp my flag, I'll stomp you, like some Graham Allen bullshit. It's like it's the same thing over and over again. And so it's just like, I want to come back at you with some logical reasoning with a few fucks peppered in there, but I just don't care anymore. It's not worth these fucking idiots. Like I'm so over trying to explain it to pearls before swine.
At this point, just understand if you're that guy, and that guy is a gender neutral term, that guy, it applies to everyone. Is what I'm saying is you're an unpaid intern. Please, if you're going to do it, like, share, tag, and blast it all over. But understand, you're an unpaid intern promoting John's channel. That's what you are. That is your job. You're an intern. So please, we're going to send out a handbook. It's going to happen. But yes, you're no longer peasants. You've been upgraded. You're interns. And just make sure that you share it on all of your social media. Thank you and good night.
Oh my God. Thank you for being here today, brother.
Hey, man,
I appreciate it. Having you here. It's been interesting.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll start to see like more facts present themselves as we go. And all we can do is just take it piece by piece. And again, if you want to be mad, that's fine.
Be mad.
But don't shoot the people that are sitting there saying, hey, let's wait for the facts to come out and then we'll decide who needs to be freaking proverbial head on the pike. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Fair's where you go to get cotton candy though, John.
God damn it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to be back with a second episode going over today's news right after this. So make sure you stay tuned and we appreciate you. And as always, you stay savage, America.